This is your WLAK Daily News Roundup for Lake Air, 107.5 FM and 1260 AM in Amory.
Civic Media News. I'm Terry Bell. Here's what Wisconsin needs to know. 2 proposed amendments to the Wisconsin Constitution are moving forward. Both ideas came up during the COVID-19 pandemic. One would let churches and other houses of worship stay open during public health emergencies. It needs to be passed by lawmakers one more time. The other would give the legislature more say on how federal money is spent. That amendment now goes to a statewide referendum in November. Governor Evers says he'll veto a Republican bill to fight PFAS pollution in Wisconsin, but Representative Jeffrey Merceau says the bill has important legal protections for innocent landowners.
That's the whole crux of this whole bill is trying to get stuff cleaned up without taking and making somebody liable that had nothing to do with it.
Evers says the bill weakens the state's enforcement authority. A number of proposed changes to education policy in Wisconsin are moving ahead. The State Assembly voted yesterday to grow the Office of School Safety, expand the types of organizations that can license teachers, and to update apprenticeship programs. Several University of Wisconsin building projects are closer to moving forward after final legislative approval yesterday. The bill is now before the governor. The projects include a new engineering building at UW-Madison. It's part of the deal UW system leaders struck with Republican leaders in exchange for new limits on campus diversity efforts. Wisconsin's tuition reciprocity agreement with Minnesota may be changed. Reciprocity lets students from one state pay in-state tuition in the other state. A bill that passed the Assembly yesterday would redirect excess tuition money to the Wisconsin university they attend instead of the state's general fund. A Wisconsin Native American leader is praising state officials for increasing affordable housing and working to increase Medicaid reimbursements for tribal hospitals and clinics.
Wisconsin's tribes will see a more than $60 million increase in their federal Medicaid reimbursements. That is likely the most significant financial gain for Wisconsin tribes since the advent of tribal gaming in this state.
Forest County Potawatomi Chairman James Crawford gave yesterday's State of the Tribe speech. I'm Terry Bell, Civic Media News. Now here's what you need to know closer to home.
For WLAK News, I'm James Kelly. The Rice Lake teenager involved in a Barron County crash that killed 2 teenage girls has been sentenced. 18-year-old Troy Hune Jr. was sentenced to 8 years of probation on 2 counts of homicide by negligent operation of a vehicle. Hune's car reportedly crashed and rolled over in October of 2022, killing a 14-year-old and a 15-year-old and injuring another 14-year-old. He was accused of operating under the influence of a controlled substance. He reportedly went over a bump near railroad tracks at about 70 miles per hour. The Wisconsin State Assembly has approved legislation to bar hunters in northern Wisconsin from killing any does for the next 4 years. The bill is meant to allow the northern herd to build back up after a slower than usual hunting season. Department of Natural Resources officials say hunters killed about 15% fewer bucks and nearly 30% fewer does. Under the bill, children 16 years or younger would be allowed to kill a buck or doe, but would only be allowed to kill one. The bill goes to the state Senate next. Construction projects at various schools in the Hayward area are reportedly making good progress. According to a Northern News Now report, 4 schools are under construction thanks to almost $50 million of referendum funding approved in 2022. Officials say construction on the new state-of-the-art gym could wrap up by this summer, and all of the current projects are on schedule to be finished by this fall. The construction includes upgrades to the primary, intermediate, and middle schools as well. City of Duluth officials are responding to calls from the community to make a stretch of West Skyline Parkway safer. The calls come after 2 fatal crashes involving pedestrians in the area in the last month. According to a Northern News Now report, Mayor Roger Reinert says he's had a few brushes himself with cars driving dangerously in the area, and the biggest safety problem is people driving too fast and distracted. Other city officials propose solutions like adding speed bumps and new signs. The Duluth community is calling on the city to do something about what they feel is an unsafe area on West Skyline Parkway. According to a Northern News Now report, the calls come following 2 fatal crashes along the road in the last month. One resident even sent a possible solution to the problem to the city council on Wednesday. The solution suggested that all traffic should turn right at the intersection of West Skyline and 14th Avenue West, with the left side of the road being reserved for pedestrians and cyclists. The Superior Fire Department made some history this week. According to officials, Tuesday marked the first time in the history of the department that an all-female firefighting crew served the community. The crew included Captain Susie Olson, who has been with the department for 22 years, and Abby Dolson and Brina Colquist, both new additions to the department. According to a Northern News Now report, Captain Olson was happy to work with the crew and hopes it inspires young girls to pursue firefighting. Community Action Duluth is offering free tax help for low-income residents. According to a Fox 21 report, the tax site will offer free help for anyone with a household income of under $64,000 per year. The organization is aiming to help about 1,200 people complete their taxes this year. The tax site has 3 full-time employees and about 50 volunteers, hoping to relieve the burden and stress of doing taxes, while also teaching the people they help a few things so they can file their taxes on their own in the future. The Duluth Airport Authority has announced that their 2023 audit found over 500 customers were overcharged for parking fees. According to officials, about 0.5% of the parking fees processed in 2023 were overcharged thanks to a calculation error. The miscalculations affected 505 customers, costing them over $7,600 extra. The customers who were overcharged received a refund for the amount, and airport officials apologized and announced the problem has been fixed. And that's what you need to know. For WLAK News, I'm James Kelly.
Mostly cloudy and quite a bit cooler today. We'll get to around 33 for a high this afternoon. The wind out of the north at 5 to 15. Tonight, clear 15. Tomorrow, sunshine 43. Sunday, sunny. High of 48 by Monday. We're talking sunshine with a high in the mid-50s. I'm meteorologist Sean Cable. Temperature now 30.
Baseball gets started tomorrow. Hi, I'm Mike Clemens with sports. It's the Brewers' first exhibition game of spring training out in Arizona tomorrow against the Padres. The first pitch at 2:10 Central Time. There's been talk that Sal Frelick will place on third base this spring. When will that happen? Brewers manager Pat Murphy.
First day. He's special, man. The kid's special. He can do it. That people ask me why is he doing it? Because he can. If anybody can do it, it's Sal.
Former Yankee Gary Sanchez has arrived nearly 3 weeks after it was first reported he'd been signed by the Brewers. It turns out he injured his right wrist during off-season workouts, something detected during his physical. Sanchez spoke through an interpreter.
No, yeah, it was a process that was, a little more or less long, but, had a little something in the hand. But here now, and with plenty of time, get to know the players, get to know the coaches, and happy to be here.
Sanchez says he should be ready to play catcher and DH in a couple of weeks. NBA, the Bucks and the Timberwolves tonight in Minnesota. Milwaukee will be without Chris Middleton, still dealing with an ankle injury. NFL, Packers' Matt LaFleur introducing Jeff Hafley as the team's new defensive coordinator.
Certainly have always had respect for him from afar as a football coach. He's worked with my brother at 2 different stops. He's worked with Kyle Shanahan at 2 different stops in Cleveland and San Francisco, and I know how those guys, how much respect they have for him as a person first and a coach second.
I asked LaFleur what he wants to see from the defense after dismissing Joe Barry.
I want us to be fast and physical and attack the ball and be able to go out there and generate takeaways.
Jeff Hafley, who left his head coaching job at Boston College to come to Green Bay,
is a guy that grew up loving football. It's the Green Bay Packers. I mean, this is like the mecca of the football world to me. Just being here and driving in the Lambo every day, it still feels surreal. I mean, that made a really, really hard decision for me. Leaving Boston College, players that I love, staff that I loved, the leadership at the school. It made a really hard decision a lot easier, and ultimately that's why I decided to come.
That's the Packers' new defensive coordinator, Jeff Hafley. With sports, I'm Mike Clemens.
I'm Pete with a 60-second Showbiz Beat. In what many considered a shock, Barbie director Greta Gerwig was not nominated for Best Director in this year's Oscars. The director addressed the snub by saying she takes pride in the fact that the film is nominated for 8 Oscars and considers herself blessed. Star of the film Margot Robbie echoed that sentiment. She said she would have liked to have seen Gerwig recognized by the Academy, but she's proud of the film and called it a once-in-a-career and once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Greta Gerwig is the first woman to direct a film that made $1 billion at the box office. People magazine reports that during Travis Kelce's visit to Australia, he and football fan girlfriend Taylor something or other visited a Sydney zoo. That's it. That's the story. Can you imagine being so famous that the New York Post reported that you went to a zoo in a foreign country? There is no word yet on how Travis related to the other animals. People can't seem to get enough of the lovable Kelsey Grammer, except me. But that's okay. Happy to take one for the team. Deadline reports that Frasier will get a second season on Paramount+. The Frasier character originated on the show Cheers before getting his own wildly popular show called Frasier. In the reboot, the character finds himself back in Boston. Former Desperate Housewife Eva Longoria will join the cast of Only Murders in the Building. The Hollywood Reporter says Longoria will join Molly Shannon and series regulars Selena Gomez, Steve Martin, and Martin Short. Longoria's character and storyline are being kept a secret. Is it possible the hit comedy will bump off Season 3 edition Meryl Streep? It just seems like with this much star power, someone needs to be killed off. How about Kelsey Grammer? HBO has decided to renew True Detective for a 5th season. The show is coming off its 4th and most popular, if not critically acclaimed, season yet. Deadline reports that it is still unclear if the storyline will be a continuation of the most recent True Detective, Night Country, or completely unrelated. Here's a pitch for Season 5. The cast has to investigate why Season 2 sucked. Can an actor be too old to do a sex scene? One of my favorite actors, Mark Ruffalo, thought yes, but agreed to do one anyway in Oscar-nominated Poor Things. Ruffalo said he's never had to do a scene where he appeared naked and did not want to subject viewers to that much of him. A true professional, though, Ruffalo agreed to do the scene in the name of comedy and to viewer disgust. Don't worry, Mark, I'm half kidding. For more showbiz fun, tune in to Nightlight with me, Pete Schwaba, every night between 7 and 9 on the Civic Media Radio Network.
That's your WLAK Daily News Roundup from Civic Media. Subscribe to this podcast on Spotify, Apple, or wherever you find your podcasts. Find more news at lakeair.radio.